and welcome to episode 341 of Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club. I am the Corey C. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast to be notified of all future episodes. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Wherever you get podcasts, you can find us. So make sure you follow the show and become a friend and supporter of Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club. All right, today, been waiting on this one, been trying to get this guy on the show for the longest, been looking for a reason to bring him on the show. And finally, I found one because there's some big news coming out of Jackson State. You know the name, right? You've seen him around. If you follow Mississippi high school basketball, you've seen him somewhere, whether it's the big house or a JPS game on the coast up north. He's all over. He's the editor and producer for the Mississippi Hoop Report, none other than Lavelle Shoes Johnson. What's going on?
What's going on, man? You finally got me on here, man. We've been working on it for a minute.
Been talking about it, trying to make it happen, but it's time. It's time. We got some big news to talk about. There's only one person we can bring on the show to talk about this big transfer recruiting news out of Jackson State, and this time it's not the football team, right?
Head coach, football team, but
not the football team. Coach Mo Williams.
It may end up being as big as anything that went on with the football team.
I think so. Coach Mo Williams, he struck, right? All right. He made a splash. He landed former Callaway High School 4-star point guard, former McDonald's All-American, Ole Miss transfer Daeshun Ruffin. And what a big surprise. Or was it? Was it a surprise? Let's start there because you're the godfather of this hoop scene throughout Mississippi. So were you surprised when you got the news?
I wasn't, because I've kind of known that it was in the works. But I mean, from the start, it's a little surprising anytime a player of that stature, matriculates to our level. You just don't see it a lot. So it's always man, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna really come through deal? But as it started coming along, you start seeing the pieces fall in place. You kind of hit the realization that, hey, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
I want to get your thoughts about what this means for the program and even the SWAC. But first, let's talk about the player. Now, most people watching this are very familiar with Daeshun, of course, a JPS legend, basketball legend. And I think it's safe to say that. But there's a lot of our Jackson State fans who don't live in Jackson anymore, and they don't really follow high school basketball. So give me your scouting report on Daeshun Ruffin. First of all, let me ask you this. How many times have you seen I know you don't know the exact number, but if you have to estimate, how many times have you seen Ruffin play in his lifetime?
Oh man, I couldn't even begin to count the number. I mean, I've been watching him since he was in middle school.
Okay.
Play. So I mean, I've seen him shoot 100 times. Maybe that might be exaggeration, but I've seen him a lot. I saw him play in middle school, high school. I saw him play at Ole Miss. I saw him play travel team ball. I've seen him play on every stage he's played on. So, I've been watching him all the way through. And man, to me, he was one of the most exciting and just offensively talented players I've seen come through here, man. And he just was so naturally talented. That's what he was with his offensive package. He just was offensively talented. No disrespect meant to this great one, but I've always said he kind of put me in the mind of a miniature James Robinson.
Okay,
that's what I always said. That's what I always
like the comparison. Yeah, I can see
it. He put me in the matter of miniature James Robinson, man. He did so many of the same things with the kind of explosions that James did to me.
Wow, I never thought about it, but as you say that, I'm visualizing definitely some similarities.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities to the game. He just was a smaller package.
Mm-hmm.
So he was definitely just he's a naturally gifted scorer. He's got a first step and an explosion and a wiggle with the ball that just he can get where he wants on the court. And he can play inside in the trees. The trees don't bother him. And then coming back to the SWAC where there's not the same level of trees, you can only imagine what he might be able to accomplish on the court.
Wow. You talked about his size. One of the biggest differences between him and Hollywood. So that's the thing that stands out. Listed at 5'9", 160, but he was a consensus 4-star recruit, number 1 player in Mississippi in 2021. I think he was the number 8 point guard in the nation and probably top 30 in the nation as well overall on ESPN at least. Yep. And but he was recruited by a ton of Power Five schools. Ultimately chose Ole Miss. So talk about those 2 years at Ole Miss. Now he only played in a total of 25 games while he was there. But what were your observations? Because you said you saw him play while he was there, right?
Yeah, I mean, he gets just kind of injury
Mm-hmm.
prone up there. He starting the freshman year, he actually hurt his hand, so he missed
Mm-hmm.
like the first 5, 6, 7
Remember
games
that.
of the freshman season. And then when he got back, it took him a minute to get going, get in the mix. But he had really kind of found his niche. He was playing really, really well before he blew out the knee. And it was one of those tricky knee injuries where wasn't anybody around him. He went up and shot a ball, came down, and it just went out. It wasn't like somebody a push or somebody bumped him or anything. He just went up and came down, and the count just went out. But he was playing really, really well. He had picked up his scoring. He was taking a more of a definitive found more of a definitive role as the scoring leader on the team. Becoming the scoring leader on the team before he got hurt. And that injury just kind of set him back, and he never kind of was able to even come into this year regain. I just think it was more of a confidence deal. A lot of it is confidence, feeling comfortable with the knee. I think he kind of, Ole Miss was Coach Davis. I know Coach Davis for a while, a long time. I actually went to school with Coach Davis at Mississippi
Okay.
State. So
Okay.
he he was kind of under fire this year. He needed to try to win. We see what happened up there as the season went along. And I mean, when you're in that situation, you need all your guns.
Mm-hmm.
You need all your guns. So I think they kind of had to rush him back
Mm-hmm.
a little bit and ask him to be more of a factor than he was ready to be mentally and physically
Mm-hmm.
than he was ready to be on the season. And it just didn't never jived after that. It just never jived after that. They just never could find a comfort point.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, of course, landing at Jackson State, you talked about, you said the differences in the trees in the SWAC and the SEC, but
Yeah,
what type of impact do you see him having in the SWAC?
man, he's gonna be a man. It's this is a major move for Jackson State, for the SWAC, and to a point for Jackson, the city of Jackson basketball. Man, you can only imagine
Mm-hmm.
with him coming back. He had a great following in high school. He was had folks packing in gyms to watch him some in high school. So with him coming back here, if things go well, he shows he's regained his burst, his explosiveness. He comes back in and just does the things we all used to him doing, being the Daeshun we used to him being. Man, it's going to be big for the conference, the SWAC. Jackson State getting a McDonald's All-American on their basketball program. The SWAC getting a McDonald's All-American in the league, and then just for the outpour of fans it could bring into the AAC for Jackson State. I mean, over the years, I think that's what the fans have been waiting for Jackson to kind of get some guys in that they really from Jackson and metro area they can really connect with. They wanted to come in here and fall in love with. And I expect this to be a major love affair as it goes along.
When you have a guy to him like Coach Mo Williams, a highly decorated former player, we don't have to get into his resume, but when a guy like that is coaching in his hometown, a city that has traditionally been a hotbed for Power Five basketball players, do you think that some of these highly talented kids coming out of JPS will start looking more seriously at Jackson State out of high school, not out of the portal? We were able to get Ruffin out of the portal, but do you think some of these guys will consider Jackson State out of high school? Could this be the start of something special or just a one-off? Because you talk about that following that he has, but he also has some kids coming behind him that look up to him and would love to play for him and could potentially start a trend. So I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk about how it could affect even the conference overall as far as changing the landscape of the recruiting.
Well, I definitely think it can be the start of a major movement for Jackson State in the city. I mean, they're right here in the hotbed area of basketball. There's always players coming out, and the possibility of keeping some of them home would be major for the basketball program. Keeping a few more of them home and a few more higher profile was home than they've kept at home. They've been able to keep home so far. It would be major for the program. And the key is, I'm gonna just be honest. The key is how how the move works out.
Okay.
The onus is on Mo and Daeshun to make it work.
Mhm.
If it works big, when it works big, I'll say this, but I have no doubt that Mo knows what he's doing. Mo
Mhm.
has a plan. So when it works big, and they show that it can work, and that that you can be successful coming here and if they can get him to the league or to look in the league from here, it can only be it can only make the possibility of the other guys looking at the program in the future more likely.
And you're a SWAC guy as well. So, and we saw this in football in the past couple of years. There's been just kind of an uptick in the level of recruiting in the SWAC. Now I'm a Jackson State guy, so I'm gonna take credit for that. As Jackson State kind of kicking this thing off with as far as SWAC. I know the opposing schools don't want to agree, but as far as just going after these 3, 4, 5 star kids, that started happening recently. Now other SWAC schools, other HBCUs are going after them, whether it's in the portal or after high school, and they're landing them right when in years past we haven't even attempted to go after them. So once this works out, can you see that kind of carrying over to the rest of the league and just bringing up the entire conference?
It definitely could. I mean, it's always a stepping stone and a stairway. You get one in. You never know. We've got programs in the SWAC that are in major cities and they have some really, you take a Texas Southern or Prairie View
Mm-hmm.
or Alabama State over in Montgomery. You got some Southern in Baton Rouge. You got some programs in some nice cities and areas that could really, maybe catch the eye, and they have homegrown talent that they can
Mm-hmm.
possibly,
Right.
nurture. So that's probably to me the first step that it could be big from. Just those schools that have the homegrown players are in there that they can possibly nurture. It could really be big and start the ball rolling for a few more guys to look this way and like you say, not just get them off the transfer portal,
Mm-hmm.
even though that seems to be the way everybody wants to
Right.
go.
That's the new thing. Yeah,
That's
that's
the
it.
new thing that the high school kids are catching the heck trying to get scholarship offers now. I mean, some kids who are really, really good are not. It's just not as many offers out there anymore. But the fours, the fives, the high threes, they are still getting offers. They are still getting opportunities to go. It's knocking off the threes, the twos, the ones, the no stars, the sleepers that used to get scholarships is really making it kind of hard on some of them, more of them now. Those 4 and 5 stars are still going to get scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what it hopefully will open up for the conference. I can see it possibly being a doorway to some bigger things.
Right, right. And then I was talking about Coach Mo going after some of these highly talented kids like a Daeshun Ruffin and landing them, but it's not the first because he's already done it in his first year in his first recruiting class. He was able to get a big get out of his backyard, same high school point guard Kevion Hunt out of Callaway,
Yeah.
who of course played with Daeshun in high school, and they made magic together. So how did and I know you watched them a ton. How did their skill sets complement one another so well?
Having Kevion there with Daeshun allowed Daeshun to be, he didn't have to play the point as much. He didn't really have to play the point in high school. They kind of turned that over to Kevion, and that allowed Daeshun to be just go get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it really allowed him to do that. He still had a lot of moments. He was on the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. They kind of shared it, but Kevion handled the point responsibilities more, and that just allowed Daeshun to really just concentrate on the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So they were a strong backcourt, a dynamic backcourt in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevion was quite the talent himself.
Yeah,
He
no
had a
doubt.
big senior year after Daeshun left.
Right, right, and it started a few games for Jackson State as a true freshman, so definitely off to a good start. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. But let's look ahead to this 2024 high school recruiting class in Mississippi because we talk about SWAC, Jackson State, and other SWAC schools possibly going after some big name kids. How is that class shaping up? Is it a deep class? Is there much D1 talent on that class?
There are some
In that class?
players. It's getting deeper every as the progress is getting deeper, it's really nice toward the top. There are a handful right now that I would call definitively, I think, possible D1 guys, and then there are that next group behind them of guys that I think they all have a possibility to be, but they're just not what I call clear cut. They're on that borderline right now. Is what I always call. I always call those kind of guys best fit guys.
Best fit.
Best fit guys. Somebody got to see him and figure, hey, he fits for what I want to do. I'm gonna take him. He's not just one of those guys that everybody might see and they want to jump at, but there are a handful of those also. Then there are guys and around Jackson. I actually think the Jackson metro area was deeper this past year than it is this coming year.
In 20,
Yeah, in 2023, it's more spread out in throughout the state. The top of the class is a little bit more spread out in the top of the state in 24. You got EJ Payman over at Raymond. That's the most local kid in the class. That's really good. He's the top rated player in the class, and he's got Mississippi State and some other high majors tracking him. And the other kids in the area that I consider higher level kids. You've got Tamari and Hoover, Yazoo City. They've offered him. From what I understand, they've also offered him, and he's getting some looks at some other schools, especially the schools at that level. He's got a teammate, Damarian Winston, that's got a chance to be a Division I player. He shoots it well. He's athletic. Kyrie Hamilton over at Clinton. I really like Kyrie. He's a strong body point guard, likes to attack the basket. Heck of a defender, really, really strong defender. Got good size. Steadily developing his jump shot, but he can hit it. He hits it well enough that he hits the open jumper, and he got to make a defense play him honest. He's a kid that I think has really got a chance to be pretty good. Those are probably the kids and the seniors. Oh, and Avery Johnson, Avery Thomas Jr. And Terry. His dad G-Man played at Southern Miss. He's 6'7", 4, probably going to be a 3 shooter. Those are the guys in the local area that jump out at you. The closest. And I don't know if you call Yazoo close.
Yeah,
but they're in the general area. In what's considered the area, local area. Those are the guys that jump out at you the most in the local area, and I think they've been in to see those guys and talk to a bunch of those guys. They're aware of those guys, so they've more than them. I see them out a lot. I see them in a lot of games. We bump into each other. We talk. I'm always talking to Trey and I talk to Mo a fair bit also, and Tyler. Trey and Tyler I talk to a lot. So I know they're always out and working and. They're trying to throw a blanket around the area as best they can. Make sure they know who they want, who they feel can play for them. So I know they're working.
Yeah, definitely working, because even if you look at some of those future classes, some of the 8, 9, 10 graders, up and coming guys, whether it's Sam Funches or some of those guys, already seeing those offers going out. So it's always good to get ahead of it. But look down the line a few years. Who are some names that young but kind of standing out, whether it's Sam Funches or Eric Dampier Jr., some guys like that?
Those are the two big names. Those are the two big names that are out there. They ready to play varsity at Northwest ranking. Oh my God! Now his name's slipping off my mind. And I can't pull up on my phone because I'm using the phone for this.
Well, at the end, I'm gonna ask you what the website. They'll go to it. They'll find it on your website.
My website is MississippiHoopReport.com. MS Hoop Report, one long word. MSHoopReport.com. I cover. I've got player rankings on there, team rankings. I cover events throughout the state. Different events, some camps, some games. I try to stay abreast of what's going on. Maybe in recruiting, maybe I may have some recruiting information out there. I haven't written anything about this today, but I may try to get out there in the night and just post something about this. I do a lot on Twitter. You can follow me on @ShoemanJ on Twitter. That's where I do a lot of my basketball tidbits at and everything. I keep a lot going on there, and I follow a lot of people. So I also do a lot of retweeting about a lot of information. I follow a lot of people, so I try to find out what our kids are doing when they're out and about. Even if I'm not out there, I may be able to retweet something with someone that
Yeah.
reported something on them. We've got a lot of kids out there playing. This weekend is the first open period where the coaches, college coaches, can get out and go to the events and see them play. So we got kids over in Atlanta and up in Iowa, over in South Carolina, some everywhere playing this weekend right now, and a lot of them out there playing. So I've been following Twitter all day trying to find bits and pieces about different guys. You talk about up and coming guys. We got Jamari and Fleming in Canton. In Canton. This class, there's another kid in Canton in this coming class, DeAndre Lewis. He's a solid player. He's out this weekend playing. He's another forward prospect that they may want to take a look at. I don't want to miss those guys. You already talked about the two big ones that's coming along, Funches and Dampier. Those two are definitely going to be big fish. Getting Daeshun may open the door, but they still might be a little bit too big when it's all said and done. But we'll see. You never know. We never know. They got a good while to close it to close the ground on those guys. They got a good while to close ground to put some work in on those guys.
Listen, nothing is too big when you marry two brands like Mo Williams, former NBA champion and All-Star with the Jackson State. Come on, man. Nothing's out of the question. Nothing out of the question. And you know that. Don't get me started. But no, good stuff, man. We appreciate it. I was trying to get through this whole episode without noticing those ugly curtains in the back or whatever that is. I don't know if that's
I hung my blanket up.
Is that a blanket, a curtain? I don't know what.
I hung my blanket on the wall just for you.
It's hideous, but I gotta accept it because you coming on the show.
I'm a diehard organizer, so I feel the same way about that cap on your head.
See, that's two strikes. That's two strikes.
Hey,
and then we won't even get into the NBA. That's three strikes.
I'm gonna say this, and we ain't going nowhere just cause y'all got Daeshun Ruffin. Ain't nobody.
I knew it was coming.
Ain't nobody scared of Daeshun Ruffin.
I knew it was coming.
We ain't going nowhere.
I hear you. We'll see. But no, man, we appreciate it. But here's the thing, though. We expect to have you back on the show more in the future because we expect to continue to land some of these big fish, and you know all about them. So each time we get one, just be anticipating my call, my text to come back on the show.
I'm always happy to go on shows and talk basketball and talk about the kids, man. Even the Jackson State show, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to be here.
All right, we appreciate it. So again, check him out on the website. Everything you need to know about Mississippi high school basketball. He's been in the game. I met you 25 years ago. You already in the game, so you probably been doing it even prior to them, man.
Been around doing this a while, man. Doing this a while.
No doubt. He is the great Lavelle Johnson, aka Shoes. Catch him at a JPS gymnasium near you. All right, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Hey, enjoyed it. You guys see y'all around. I'm sure I'll be bumping into you somewhere.
No doubt.